The wind howled across the frozen wasteland. Sharp snowflakes cut through the air like tiny knives. The planet was quiet. Too quiet. Ray sat inside his small camping tent, rubbing his hands near the small heating device. His fingers were stiff. The temperature outside was below freezing. The storm had started an hour ago. Now he could barely see anything through the tent window. He was alone. At least he thought he was. Ray was a solo explorer from Earth. His mission, to scan and study this frozen planet, called E47 for signs of life. So far, he had found nothing, just ice, rocks, and silence. Then, he heard something strange. Soft thump outside the tent. He froze. He listened carefully. Another sound, like footsteps, slow, dragging. Ray reached for his small plasma knife. It wasn't strong, but it gave him some confidence. He opened the tent door just a little, letting in a blast of cold wind. What he saw made his heart stop. A figure was lying in the snow, curled up, shivering. It was not human. The skin was a pale blue, almost glowing. Thin arms, long fingers, a torn silver suit. A girl. An alien girl. Ray didn't move for a second. His training told him to stay inside, to call the ship, to wait. But his human side, the emotional side, couldn't ignore the suffering. She was freezing. Without thinking, he rushed out, grabbed her gently, and pulled her into the tent. She was ice cold. Her eyes were half open. She was barely breathing. Ray wrapped her in a thermal blanket and turned the heat to maximum. The girl didn't speak. She just stared at him with glowing, tired eyes. Hey, can you hear me? Ray asked softly. No. Reply. Her eyes slowly closed. For a moment, Ray feared she had died. But then, her hand moved. It touched Ray's wrist. And suddenly, everything changed. Ray gasped. In a flash, images appeared in his mind. Strange buildings. Bright lights. A prison. Soldiers. Pain. Running. Cold. They weren't his memories. They were hers. He pulled back, shocked. What the hell? The girl's eyes opened again. This time, she spoke, her voice weak, broken, but clear. I ran. Ray blinked. What? Ran from what? She swallowed hard. They hunt me. Bad ones. Ray felt a chill, not from the cold, but from fear. Whoever she was running from someone. And now, maybe he was involved too. He looked at her face. There was pain there, but also trust. She had come to his tent, maybe not by accident. What's your name? He asked. She stayed silent. Her lips trembled. Then she whispered, Alira. Ray nodded slowly. I'm Ray. For a few minutes there was only silence, just the sound of wind hitting the tent walls. Then, something outside moved. A shadow passed the tent. Ray turned off the lights inside. His hand went to his knife again. The girl's eyes widened. She whispered, hide. Ray didn't ask questions. He pulled her under the sleeping bag and covered her. She became still like a stone. Outside, footsteps crunched in the snow. Ray held his breath. A voice came, deep and metallic. Not human. She was here. Another voice replied. Scan again. She's close. Ray's heart pounded. Who were they? What did they want with her? He sat quietly, hoping the tent walls would protect him. After a minute, the voices faded. Ray exhaled slowly. He turned to look at the sleeping bag. The girl was still there, hidden. But then, the heater flickered. The light dimmed. Something in the air felt electric. The girl crawled out from under the blanket. She sat up slowly, her eyes glowing brighter now. Ray stared at her, confused and amazed. What are you? He asked. She looked straight at him. Her voice was quiet, but full of power. I was made, she said. Made to fight, but I escaped. Ray didn't know what to say. Then she touched his arm again, and another memory hit him. This time, he saw Earth. burning. His own face older, screaming, running, fighting beside her. He pulled away, shaken. She whispered, "You helped me." Before, in another time. Ray was speechless. Suddenly, a red light flashed outside the tent. The hunters were back. Alira looked at him, serious now. "They found me. You must choose. Stay human, or help me." Ray looked into her glowing eyes, unsure what to believe. But deep inside, something told him this was just the beginning. Inside the small tent, the heat flickered. The storm outside was still strong, but Ray could only hear the sound of his own heartbeat. Alira sat in the corner, wrapped in his emergency blanket. Her blue skin shimmered in the dim light. She looked better, but not safe. Not calm. Ray paced back and forth. His mind was spinning. What had just happened? When she touched him, he saw things. Things no human had ever seen. He finally stopped and looked at her. "What was that?" he asked. "Those images. That war, Earth?" She didn't answer at first. Her glowing eyes stared at the tent wall like she was watching a ghost. Then she whispered, "I didn't mean to show you." Ray frowned. "Show me what?" She looked at him. "A broken future." Ray's mouth went dry. "Future? You mean that was real?" Alira nodded slowly. "A possible future, your planet burning. My kind fighting beside humans. You and standing in fire." Ray took a step back. "No, that's crazy." She stood up slowly. Her movements were graceful but wounded. "I was created by a machine race. They called us mirrors. We don't just read minds. We link them. Past, future, memories, thoughts, everything." Ray shook his head. "Why me? Why show me all that?" She looked down. "Because your mind is open, strong. Most humans break after one link." He didn't feel strong. He felt like the world had flipped upside down. Then he noticed something. Her arm, where the suit was torn, it had glowing marks, like circuitry under her skin. He pointed. "What is that?" She looked at her arm and pulled the fabric over it. "A curse," she said. "It lets them track me and control me. If they catch me again." Ray leaned closer. "Can it be removed?" "No, but maybe blocked." Suddenly, a small device slipped from her pocket. It was cracked, blinking red and green. She held it gently like a wounded animal. "This," she said, "is a signal jammer. If I fix it, they can't find me." Ray knelt beside her. "Let me try." He wasn't an engineer, but he had tools and hope. He opened his toolkit and worked in silence. Alira sat close, watching. Her presence felt warm now, not strange. Not alien. After a few minutes, the device blinked green. Ray smiled. "There, is that better?" She didn't smile, but her eyes softened. "You've helped me twice now," she said. Ray shrugged. "You looked cold and scared." She looked at him, her voice soft. "I was both. I still am." Then she placed 2 fingers on Ray's temple. He flinched but didn't pull back. This time the images were slower. Not war. Not fire. A memory. Her memory. She was a child or something close to one, sitting in a metal room. Lights above. Voices around her. Cold voices. A man in a uniform said, "Project Mirror is unstable. Shut her down." She screamed, but no one cared. The memory faded. Ray opened his eyes, breathing hard. "They tortured you," he said. She nodded. "They called it training, before." He could speak more. The tent shook. A cold wind blew in from a small opening, and a red laser dot appeared on the wall. Alira's eyes widened. "They're near." Ray turned off the heater and lights. The tent went dark. Then he heard it, mechanical breathing. Just outside. He grabbed his knife, but Alira put her hand on his. Double quotes, "No. If they come in, you die." She closed her eyes. Her skin glowed bright. The tent shimmered, just for a second. Outside, the sounds paused. One voice said, "Signal lost." Search further south. Footsteps faded into the snowstorm. Inside, the air was warm again. Ray stared at her in shock. What did you do? She opened her eyes, weak now. I bent their senses. Just for a moment, Ray helped her lie back. That cost you something, didn't it? She didn't reply. Then he asked, why are they really after you? She opened her mouth, but stopped, then said, because I know how to kill them all. Ray sat frozen. Then Alira said one last thing before closing her eyes, but I can't do it alone. The wind outside screamed like a warning. Ray looked at her sleeping form, then out at the icy darkness. He had invited her in to warm up. But now he was part of something much colder and far more dangerous. The storm had passed. But silence was worse than the wind. Ray unzipped the tent slightly and peeked outside. White snow stretched forever, calm, still, quiet, too quiet. He pulled his head back inside and zipped it shut. Alira was still lying near the heater. She looked asleep, but Ray knew better. She was listening, sensing, always alert. Ray picked up the broken scanner from his kit and tried turning it on. Nothing. The storm had damaged the signal. No connection to orbit. No help from the base. Just him and her, and something else. He felt it, the kind of silence that only comes before something bad happens. Then a sound click, click, click. Not wind. Not footsteps. Metal. He grabbed his small tracker and pointed it toward the west. 1. Red. Then 2. Then 3. Ray's hand trembled. They're here. Alira opened her eyes. Her face was calm, but her eyes glowed brighter than before. She sat up slowly, as if she already knew what was coming. Ray whispered, "Can you hide us again?" She shook her head. "Not for long. I'm too weak now." Ray crawled to the side of the tent and picked up a smoke pod. It was meant for wild animals, not military trackers, but it was better than nothing. Alira moved closer to him. "If they find me, they'll take me. If they find you, they'll kill you." Ray gave a bitter smile. "Well, that's not much of a choice." Suddenly, a shadow passed over the tent. Something was above them. A ship? A drone? Ray held his breath. Then a deep robotic voice echoed through a speaker outside, "Surrender the subject. No harm will come to you." Ray looked at Alira. Her face was pale. Her lips pressed tight. She whispered, "Lies." Ray knew it too. But before he could decide anything, something hit the tent wall hard. He rolled over, grabbed the smoke pod, and activated it. Boom! Thick smoke filled the inside of the tent, then leaked out through the seams. From outside, another voice shouted, "Deploy vision sweep." Ray turned to Alira, coughing. "We can't stay here. They'll rip the tent apart." She touched his forehead, this time no memory, just a feeling. Cold metal. A cage. A needle. Pain. Ray blinked. "That's what they'll do to you?" She nodded. "I'm not letting that happen," Ray said. Then something unexpected happened. She handed him a small, sharp object, almost like a crystal shard. "If they capture me, press this into your skin," she said. "It will erase me from your memory. You'll be safe." Ray stared at it, shocked. "Erase you? Why would I want that?" Alira looked away. "Because they use memories as weapons." Before he could argue, the tent ripped open from the side. A tall figure stepped in, armored in black, eyes red, metal fingers twitching. Its voice was cold. Subject acquired. Ray jumped forward and threw a punch useless against metal. The hunter grabbed him and tossed him aside like a toy. Alira stood, glowing now but shaking. The hunter raised a device. "Sleep," he. SHI idea pulse hit the air. Ray felt his ears ring. Alira fell to one knee but didn't drop. She stared at the hunter and whispered something in her own language. The hunter paused. Then suddenly, it dropped to the ground, sparks flying from its head. Ray sat up, shocked. "What just happened?" Alira didn't answer right away. Then, she looked at her hands. I broke its mind. Ray crawled to the hunter's body. It wasn't dead, but empty. Blank. You can do that? He asked. She looked at him, scared of her. Own power. Only when I'm afraid enough. They both heard more voices outside. More hunters. Ray grabbed his coat and bag. We have to move, now. Alira stepped forward. Weak on her feet. Ray helped her up. They left the broken tent behind and ran into the snow. Behind them, the dead hunter's eyes blinked, once red then black. But as they disappeared into the white storm, one last thought echoed in Ray's mind. What if I'm not just helping her escape? What if I'm helping her become something dangerous? The snow had stopped falling, but the world was still white. Ray and Alira moved slowly across the icy plain, their footsteps deep in the soft ground. The tent, the wreckage, the hunter, they had left it all behind. Ray's legs were heavy. His lungs burned from the cold. But he didn't stop. Alira walked beside him, silent, her head low. She had used too much of her power. Her glow had dimmed, but her mind? Still sharp. Still watching. Ahead of them stood an old structure, metal, rusted. Human made. Ray pointed. That's an abandoned survey base. From the early missions, maybe we can rest there. Alira said nothing. She just followed him. The door opened with a groan. Inside, the walls were frozen, but intact. There were broken screens, dusty chairs, and a long dead power cord. Ray lit a small lamp. Alira sat on a crate and pulled the blanket tight around her. They were safe. For now. Ray looked at her. For a long time. Then finally said what had been bothering him for hours. Back in the tent, when I asked what you are, you said you were made. She didn't look at him. Yes, by who? She hesitated. Then her answer came out like a sharp knife. By humans. Ray blinked. What? She looked up at him. Her voice calm, cold, honest. You think my kind is alien. But the truth is worse. We were created by your people. In a lab deep in the stars. Ray sat down, stunned. That's impossible. Earth doesn't do that. We have laws. Alira gave a bitter smile. Laws don't exist in black space. She touched her head lightly. They took children, orphans, refugees, bodies lost in war. Rebuilt them, wired them, tested them. Ray felt sick. For what? She looked him dead in the eyes. To make weapons that don't need orders. Soldiers who can think like enemies. And kill them before they act. He stood up, pacing now. That's insane, she whispered, but it worked. I was one of 12. Ray stopped. What happened to the others? Her answer came slow. 9 died during training. 2 went mad. Only I survived and escaped. He sat down again, shaking his head. And now those machines chasing you, they want you back? Alira nodded. Yes, because I remember everything. Every code, every plan, every backdoor into their systems. They can't let that exist outside their control. Ray looked around the dark, dead base. The broken walls. The silence. You were never supposed to survive, were you? No, she said. Then Alira stood and walked to one of the old terminals. Her hand hovered over it. The screen flickered. To Ray's shock, the monitor powered up. Alira had triggered it with her neural link. The screen showed files. Old data logs. Project names. One name blinked in red. Project Mirror. Human Future Yield. Ray read it slowly. HFY. He looked at her. That's what they called it? She nodded. A project. To protect humanity. By building something no alien could match. Not stronger, not faster, but smarter. Something that could predict war before it began, Ray whispered. And now? They think you're the threat. She turned toward him. They're right. The room fell silent. I know too much. And if I fall into the wrong hands, I could end every world I touch. Ray stepped closer. But you haven't. You chose to run. To survive. She looked down. Only because I met someone. Long ago, a human. Ray's eyes narrowed. Me? She nodded. In another time, another life, you helped me escape. You were the reason I broke my code and became something else. Ray looked at her for a long time. Why don't I remember that? Alira touched his chest. Because to save your life. I erased it. Ray felt a strange ache in his heart. Like something lost had returned, but broken. I don't care what they made you for, he said. You're not a weapon to me. Alira looked at him with a sadness that was more human than anything. Just then, an alert beeped on the terminal. Ray rushed over. A blinking message. Incoming. Unauthorized satellite scan detected. Alira's face changed. They've locked onto us. Ray grabbed his pack. Then we move. Alira didn't move. I can't keep running, Ray. He stared at her. Then what do we do? She walked toward him, calm and quiet. Her voice low. We stop running. And we start fighting. The frozen wind howled across the open valley. Ray and Alira moved fast. Boots crunching through deep snow. Their breath like fog in the air. Behind them, the abandoned base grew smaller and smaller, until it disappeared into the white dot above. A black drone circled in the clouds, silent, watching. They're tracking us from the sky, Ray said, glancing up. Alira didn't look. Not just from there, Ray frowned. What do you mean? She stopped walking and touched her head gently. They're inside frequencies, signals, thoughts. The further we go, the clearer they hear me. Ray looked around. Snow, ice, rocks. All the same. All empty. No place to hide. We need cover, he said. There's a canyon nearby. Maybe the wind will block their scans. Alira nodded, but her legs were weak. Ray helped her walk. They moved toward the ice canyon, a narrow path between frozen cliffs. The walls were high, smooth, and blue like glass. The cold was deeper here, heavier. Alira's glow had dimmed again. She was growing colder by the minute. Ray gave her his thermal jacket. Take it. She looked at him. You'll freeze. I've survived worse, he lied. They walked deeper into the canyon. Then came a sound not loud, but sharp, a high-pitched ring, like feedback from an old radio. Ray winced. What is that? Alira grabbed his arm. They're sending a message, a mental trap. The sound grew louder. Ray stumbled, his head spun. Suddenly he saw flashes, cities burning. Earth screaming, Alira. Floating above fire. Then, a voice, robotic, cold, inside his skull. Give her to us. And you will be spared. Ray fell to his knees. His vision blurred. Alira knelt beside him. Fight it, it's not real. He looked at her, breathing fast. How do I stop it? Think of something stronger, she said. A memory that matters. Ray closed his eyes. He saw his brother's face. A moment from years ago, laughing by a campfire. A real memory. A human one. The sound faded. He gasped for air, shaking. They're not just hunting us, he said. They're attacking inside. Alira nodded. This is why they fear me. Because I can do it back. Ray looked at her. Then maybe it's time you did. She stood slowly, faced the sky. Closed her eyes for a moment. The air went still. Then a wave pulsed out from her body, invisible, but strong. The snow shook. The ice walls cracked. Up above, the drone fell from the sky, dead before it hit the ground. Ray stared in disbelief. You hit it without touching it. Alira turned toward him, weak but standing tall. I told you. I was made to win wars. Suddenly, a blast ripped through the canyon wall. Ray shielded Alira. From the smoke came two black-armored hunters, tall, fast, brutal. Ray pulled out his last plasma flare and threw it. Flash! Blinding light. The hunters paused. Run! Ray shouted. They ran. The canyon turned into a tunnel of sharp ice and falling rocks. Alira stumbled once Ray caught her. His hands were frozen, his legs burning. A narrow ledge appeared ahead. On the other side, a cave. Jump, he said. She looked. At the gap, you go first. No, Ray said. You. Alira stepped back. Focused. Then ran and jumped. She landed hard but safe. Ray ran next, leaped, and barely caught the edge. Alira grabbed his hands and pulled. Inside the cave. They collapsed, gasping. Outside. The hunters stopped at the edge. They aimed but didn't shoot. Alira smiled weakly. They can't see us. The cave is shielded. Naturally. Ray looked around. The walls were full of glowing crystal veins. Is this natural? He asked. Alira touched one of the walls. Gently. No, this is old tech. From before humans, before even my creators. Ray sat down. What is this place? A tomb, she said. Ray blinked. Of what? She looked him in the eye. Something like me, but it never escaped. Ray's breath caught. Alira lay back. Her voice soft. They made me a weapon, but now I wonder. Maybe they were copying something older, something worse. Ray looked at the crystals faintly pulsing, almost alive, and he realized they weren't just hiding anymore. They were entering a place where something else once woke up and never left. Inside the cave, the silence was heavy. Ray sat against the wall, staring at the glowing crystal veins. They pulsed softly like heartbeats, blue, then purple, then still. Alira was asleep near him, or unconscious. He wasn't sure anymore. Her skin had faded from glowing blue to a pale white, almost human-looking. She was losing energy, fast. And Ray was losing time. He opened his wrist, come still. Damaged, but the signal flickered now. The crystals were somehow boosting it. He pressed the emergency call button. A voice came through, cracked and slow. This is base echo. Identify. Ray leaned in. This is Ray Talvin. Explorer 94. I need extraction. Immediate. Hostile contact confirmed. One survivor with me. The voice paused. Then returned. Copy. Signal received. Drone en route. ATA 6 hours. Ray ended the call. 6 hours. He turned to Alira. She hadn't moved. Help's coming, he said quietly. Just hold on. But something felt off. Ray stood and walked deeper into the cave, following the glowing paths. The crystals grew larger the further he went, tall as trees. Their glow began to change colors as he moved. Green. Then red. He touched one. Suddenly, a flash, not memory. Not thought. Code. He saw numbers, maps, blueprints, human designs, layered over alien ones. Project Mirror. Lines connected across star systems, and one name burned into his brain. Subject. 1. Ray Talvin. Mirror prototype sync. He stumbled back, eyes wide. No, that's not possible. But it was. He had never been just a surveyor. He had been part of the project. Not the scientist. The test subject. His mind began to spiral. Pieces clicking into place. That's why he could see her visions. Why his mind didn't break. Why she had erased his memory once before. He walked back to her, slowly, heart racing. Alira was awake now. Watching him. You knew, he said. She said nothing. You knew what I was. She nodded once. I didn't want you to remember. Ray felt his throat tighten. Was I like you? No, she said. You were the control they needed to see how a normal mind reacted, but you weren't normal. He sat down hard. So I helped build the project that built you. No, she said softly. You helped end it. You just don't remember how. He stared at her. Why would I forget? She reached into her jacket and pulled out the same crystal shard from before. You asked me to erase you. So they couldn't use your memories, so they couldn't use me. Ray looked at the crystal. He suddenly hated it, and yet, part of him wanted to press it into his skin again. To forget. But then a new sound echoed in the cave, a beep. A soft one. Repeating. Ray looked at his comms. Ping detected. Satellite lock confirmed. He frowned. I didn't. Alira stood quickly. Eyes wide. Ray, did you activate a beacon? No, he said. I just called for pickup. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You don't understand. They don't use that frequency anymore. Ray blinked. Then it hit him. The emergency signal didn't go to the human base. It went to them. The hunters. Alira stepped back. You didn't betray me. The signal inside you did. Ray felt dizzy. They planted it. In me? She nodded. Hidden deep. You were always a gate. That's why I ran to you. Because I needed the gate to break. Suddenly the walls pulsed. Red dot outside the cave. Footsteps. Closer. Heavier. Faster. They had arrived. Ray grabbed her arm. We'll run. Alira didn't move. Her eyes were cold now. You brought them, Ray. Not by choice. But it doesn't change what happens next. I didn't know, he said. That's the worst part, she whispered. Then she held the crystal shard out to him. This is your last choice. Use it. Forget everything. Wake up alone. You'll live. Ray looked at it. He looked at her. And then he heard the machines outside the cave, getting closer. She turned her back to him. Because trust was now a weapon. Ray stared at the shard. His hand trembled. Then he dropped it. It shattered on the cave floor. Alira turned, surprised. He looked at her calm. I'd rather die remembering the truth than live in someone else's lie. The cave shook. The hunters were entering. Ray stood next to her, and for the first time, not as protector, not as survivor, but as an equal. Then we fight, she said. The cave shook. The sound of metal footsteps echoed louder, bouncing off crystal walls. The hunters were inside now, their red eyes glowing in the shadows. Ray stood beside Alira, his body tense, breath cold. There were no more choices. No more hiding. This was the end. He turned to her. If they take us, they won't, she said. He nodded. If they kill us, they won't, she said again, but softer, like she wasn't sure. Ray looked down at the shattered crystal on the floor. His last way out gone. I remember now, he whispered. Alira's eyes flicked toward him. I was there when they built the lab. I signed the report that called you asset number 12. I told myself it was for peace. I thought we were building a shield. He looked at her, eyes full of guilt. But we built a blade. She didn't speak, just looked at him with sadness. And something else. Forgiveness. They're coming, she said. And they've adapted. I can't block them like before. Ray clenched his fists. Then we link. Alira stared. What? You said I'm the only one who survived full mental sync with you. We do it again, right now, all in. She stepped back. You don't understand. A full link isn't just thoughts. It's identity, pain, past. If we connect too deep. She didn't finish the sentence. Ray stepped closer. I'd rather die as both of us than live without knowing who I really am. She looked into his eyes. Then reached forward. Their hands touched. And in that moment, everything changed. The link. Ray saw her whole life in seconds. The lab. The cage. The fake smiles of scientists. The first time she used her power and hurt someone. The fear. The escape. The night she met him for the first time, and he saw himself, not as he was now, but as a man standing in a fire-lit hallway, whispering, "Run, don't ever come back. I'll wipe everything." He had helped her escape. He had erased himself, for her. The link deepened, and suddenly he felt power. Not hers, his. Buried beneath false memories. He wasn't just a control subject. He was the final part of Project Mirror, a safety key. The shutdown code. And now? He had just been activated. Ray opened his eyes. So did Alira. But something was different. Her glow was brighter, her body steady, her mind clearer. You unlocked something, she said, surprised. Ray turned toward the cave entrance. The hunters had arrived, 6 of them. Tall, armored, armed. One stepped forward. Surrender the subject. This is your final warning. Ray stepped in front of her. No, he said. This is yours. He reached out. Alira placed her hand over his. The crystals in the cave responded, flaring with light. The hunters raised their weapons too late. A wave of psychic energy exploded outward, silent but total. Their minds shattered before their bodies hit the ground. One by one, they fell, sparks, smoke, silenced. Ray and Alira stood alone. Alive. Together. The cave went quiet again. But it was a different kind of quiet now. Peaceful. Ray sat down, drained but alive. He looked at her. Is it over? Alira shook her head. No, but the game just changed. Ray smiled. So, what now? She looked up at the ceiling, through the ice, into the stars. Now we tell the truth. Epilogue. Ray woke up weeks later, in a recovery pod. Earth orbit. His body had healed, but his mind felt different. Clear. His memories were whole again. Alira was gone but not lost. A message blinked on the screen, from her. You saved me before I knew who I was. Now I know what I must become. Not a weapon, not a ghost, but a warning. We were mirrors, but now we shape the future. Ray leaned back and whispered to himself. We always were more than human.